International Media TV. Television that listens to you.
Hi, I'm Johnnie Burrell. Welcome to the program.
And now it is time for our in-conversation discussion, everybody. I'd like to bring up our special guests. Constance C.R. White, by the way, I don't know if you heard, but travel from back east, she wasn't able to make it tonight. Bless her heart. She was really struggling to get here, but we all know, and we are definitely keeping our thoughts for our brothers and sisters on the East Coast because they are going through it right now. So stepping in to pinch hit, as we say in baseball, she is an author, and she spent years as a senior writer for Newsweek. Currently, she is an editor to the Daily Beast. Please welcome her, filling in tonight, Allison Samuels. Allison. And next, she is a global supermodel, fashion icon, entrepreneur, and beauty expert. She is the first African-American model to grace the cover of Vogue Magazine in 1974. Groundbreaking, to say the least. And she looks just like she looked in 1974. Give it up for the divine Beverly Johnson.
Oh, yes.
Look at that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Take it all in, y'all. It takes a moment, doesn't it?
Hi, y'all. Hey. Hey. I made it. I made the last plane out of New York City. Only one flight left New York today, and I was on it.
Woo! And got here in the nick of time, too. Bless her heart. It's been a crazy travel day. We're so happy to have both of you here. Thank you so much for joining us. You do have to take it in, because isn't she stunning?
Oh.
You really are. I met her, and I was like, oh, my God. Just amazing. Well, we're going to talk black style. And by the way, we have a lot of black style in the house here tonight, right?
Yes.
Hats and all the wonderful colors and everything. So black style, okay, from the Harlem Renaissance to the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power Movement, the disco years, to current hip-hop culture. Black style for me is always about cultural pride and dignity and swagger, if you will, is kind of at the root of it. Allison, how would you define black style?
Black style, I know for me, when I think of black style, growing up during the 70s, I think of Beverly when I think of black style, and I also think of Mahogany and Diana Ross. That's sort of what I always think of when I think of black style.
We're from the same era, girl.
Definitely, definitely. And just sort of, like you said, the swagger, that sort of pride, and just sort of that individual taste and style that's all our own. I think that's what I think of black style, putting our own individual sort of stamp on what's beautiful. You know, because a lot of times we couldn't afford the designer clothes, so we'd have to put different things together to sort of have our own definition of what beauty was. I think that's what black style is, just sort of putting our own ideas together and making it work. That's black style.
And that's the history of our people. That's
Yes.
what we do. We don't
Yeah.
have it, we'll make it,
Yeah.
we'll find a way, right?
A mishmash, yeah.
Okay?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And Beverly, how about for you, black style? And as Allison mentioned, for our generation, you had a huge impact on us because, you know, how often did we get to see, or we never saw a sister on the cover of Vogue, so you had a huge influence on us. So black style that you've been a part of, what does it mean to you? How would you define it?
Well, when I think of black style, I think of my mother. And I think of sitting there, watching her put on her makeup and her green velvet gown and with the little mink trim, and my father dressing up in his tuxedo. And you know, my father was a steel laborer and my mother was a nurse, but they had style. Yes. And I remember once my grandmother came to live with me, my mother's mother, And she was getting all dressed up, and she had a hat and this gray suit, very chic, with her handbag. And I was saying, Mom, where's Mother Dear? I called my grandmother Mother Dear. Where's Mother Dear going, all dressed up? And my mother was kind of ashamed, but my grandmother was going to clean rooms at the Hilton Hotel. She was a maid. And I'll never forget, every morning she got up, and honey, she looked like $1,000,000. There was so much dignity and pride, and she taught me how to make a bed, okay? She taught me how to make a bed and how to clean a room. And that, when I think of black style, I think of that. I think it's, particularly for African Americans, it was a way to express ourselves, that we are still here, and I'm an individual, and look at me.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Well, Allison mentioned Diana Ross and mahogany, and as I was saying, for those of us from our generation, that was it. Yeah. Even before that, the Motown era brought in a big sense of, a big fashion sense for us that we'd never seen before as well. What would you say, Allison, some of the biggest influences of American style in the past? Who would you look back to?
Well, like you said, I would think of Motown. I'd also think of Dorothy Dandridge, even, like Pearl Bailey, Lena Horne, women like that. Even when you think of sort of Marian Anderson, any of those visible African-American legends that even if it wasn't their style of clothes, it was the way they wore their hair, it was the way they sort of, their whole entire presentation, just their elegance, just all of that. Coretta Scott, all of those women, you looked at them for their style and their grace. It wasn't just their outfits. It was just the way they carried themselves. Be it, Malcolm X's wife. All those women really represented who we wanted to be because we respected them so much. So I think style it means so many different things to so many different people. It's not just the outfit you had on. Right. It is exactly how you carried yourself, and I think that's sort of what it means to us today as well. It's not one thing. It is who you are and how you carry yourself out there in the world.
Yeah, it is. It's all about that sense of pride.
Right.
We do it better than anybody else, don't we all?
It's true. It's true.
Just had to have a moment with my black folks. Y'all understand. Y'all understand.
And as a model, I would come into a Vogue magazine shoot or a Glamour magazine shoot, and the editors would be like, "What are you wearing? How'd you do that?" And they would actually tell me where they would be getting their inspiration from. The hot pants, the big caps, all the gold chains, and how much they were influenced by urban style. And so they were picking my brain. and it's really interesting. I could wear a dress, and one of my peers could wear the same dress, but I'm going to show it differently. Mm-hmm. So it's about confidence and how you see yourself in that outfit. Okay. But I can tell you this personally. We are responsible for a lot of the trends and styles that go on, particularly that are really American-made styles. The designers will go to Morocco and come back with, the indigo blue caftans, but a lot of the styles were created right here in African. Remember the Cotton Club up in, I really do. I love history, and I love looking at the photographs of how everybody dressed then. All the men in hats and the suits and the ties and just the attention to detail in the way they looked, and we're still doing it. Aren't we? We just brought in a few wigs and other things.
A few extras.
A few extras. That's true. But that's all about style too, right?
But also Soul Train. I would watch Soul Train and get all the ideas.
Oh my goodness. Some ideas I wasn't going to do.
And some of that stuff is back today.
Yes, it is.
I wish I would have held on to some of my platform shoes.
It's so true. I go shopping with my daughter, and and I said, I have that exact belt. She said, it couldn't be. I said, Anansa, I have that exact belt. I have those exact platform shoes. That's right. She said, Mother, they couldn't be. I said, they're exactly. She says, Mom, they were the exact shoe, okay? They took them 70 shoes out and put them right back up there, and we all went out and bought them again, twice.
Sure did. I think you made a strong point when you say it's not just about the fashions, it's the way black folks carry themselves, especially back in the day when we were all coming up. You mentioned watching your mom and dad get dressed. I love that when my mom and dad would go to the Alpha fraternity ball and they'd get all dressed up. But there's a picture of me as a 5-year-old child going to Disneyland. Why did my mother have on a suit and pearls? That's how they did it back then. Mad swagger. But Beverly, you mentioned what we all have known for a long time, that that African Americans and Africa itself have influenced global trends in fashion for decades and decades. Some of us might even say that a lot of it was stolen from African Americans. And you can see it every day now today, can't you? In the mainstream.
Yes.
You know, young kids today from all ethnicities are working it out, and in TV commercials, almost every Super Bowl commercial had like rap music in it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Hip hop culture. So talk about who's really influencing African American style today, if you would, Beverly.
Well, I think that Russell Simmons had a big influence on style. I really loved when he came out with the, you know, with the little golf shirt, and then, you know, and then the baseball cap. So he was kind of like preppy, but, you know, but urban hip. Right. And there are so many. I was in the elevator. I was in New York. I received this award. And I was in the elevator, and there was a young man with headphones on, and there was another big guy, and I was thinking maybe it was a football game, but you know, I started up a conversation. I said, "Are those Dr. Dre's headphones?" And he took it off, and he says, "No, these are just whatever they were, Michael." And then someone told me when they got off that was Trey's song. I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to tell my daughter." Oh, I can't. He was, and my daughter says, "Is he tall?" I said, "He's tall and cute as he could be." He was so stylish. I mean, he had this hoodie, like cardigan, rib cardigan on, and his pants were not hanging down on his butt. They were up. He was so classy and such a gentleman. And so you see it everywhere you go. Right. And it's being created over and over again. I think that culturally, in Africa, and that's where we get our sense of, that's why we love our hair. I mean, it's just in our bones, you know, in ancient history. But there was a lot of tradition there. And so here, being here in America and African Americans, we keep reinventing ourselves. Every day we wake up and my daughter will say, "What do you have on?" "You're not going out here with sequins on at 5 o'clock in the afternoon." "Yes, I am." So we keep, I know what I was thinking out there, what she doing in that cocktail dress. So we keep reinventing ourselves, and we're so special, and we're so talented, and I just can't say enough about us.
Yeah. Well, we are here to celebrate us and style for 10 decades now. Allison, I would love to hear you speak on how African-American style has crossed over to the mainstream over the last several decades.
Well, we have, you know, with hip-hop, and you have so many people like Pharrell. I think of Pharrell, and I think of sort of the hip-hop artists that have crossed over, and their styles are so influential that there's no other choice. When you look at people like Pharrell being nominated for Oscars and on those sort of mainstream shows, people look at that, and they look at their style, and they look at everything that they do, and they buy it. So that's going to continue. That, you know, I look at his, I think he has clothes, Kimora Simmons, you know, all the models have had, you know, clothes that are in the stores. So that influence continues to this day, and I think it's going to continue to, you know, continue to sort of get into the culture. And there's racial divide, particularly for the younger generations, that's sort of diminishing. We're not seeing it as much. So there's not that line there. So it's not a matter of black and white, I think, for the younger generations. They don't see that. It's like, they just like the style. It's like, it doesn't matter if what color the guy is who made the clothes. I just want that. Unfortunately, on the runway, we don't see it as much. But when it comes to going in the store and actually purchasing the clothes, I think the younger generations are cool with that. They just want something that looks cool and looks hip. And so I think African American style is going to continue to sort of evolve across color lines, and that's the great part about it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the runway. And Beverly, if you could talk to us about how the industry has changed for better or for worse for African American models and designers for that matter. In your career, how have you seen it change since you broke through?
Yes, of course there's been some great strides in the way of models of color, and actually the diversity of models from all over the world, from Africa, from, Puerto Rico, from, India. So that is really wonderful, because we live in a community, a global community that is shrinking and shrinking. And that's why it's so important that we acknowledge one another, because we do acknowledge one another from our beauty and style. That is, that's almost like art when you acknowledge different cultures. Unfortunately, some of the designers decided not to use women of color on the runway. And I don't really know why that is. I, of course, have spoken out about it, and also Iman and Beth Ann Hardison, and we've come together to lend a voice to these models that are not being used in the runway, particularly since we buy a lot of the clothes, so we don't really understand it. What I think that could be done is that, since the actresses are now on the covers of the magazines and in the editorial pages of the magazines and in the ads of the magazines, I like to hear them speak out on our behalf, meaning our models' behalf. I like to hear what Halle has to say about it, what Julia Roberts has to say about it, all these liberal actresses. So maybe, because they're doing the red carpet, so maybe if they said, I'm not going to wear your dress down the red carpet, so,
yeah.
If you don't get it together, that might have an impact, because as models right now, we don't have the leverage. You don't know the name to the face as much as you did in I'm not saying my generation, that was so long ago, some of you weren't even born then, but they're not making models as well known as they were a few decades ago. The Naomi Campbells, the Tyra Banks, the Christy Turlington, Cindy Crawford. Yeah. And so we need a little help. Yeah. We need a little help from Hollywood, Angelique Jolie and all y'all. Speak up. Yeah. Speak up, What do you think?
I wish they would return, though, to the models. Because I feel like they put the same 5 actresses on the covers of the magazines. Yeah. It's the same 5 women. Yeah. And I get sick of that. I'm like, I would love to see models return to modeling clothes. That's what models do.
You're right. It has crossed over. Yeah, you're right.
This is so annoying.
Yeah.
So that would be good, though, if the women would speak out.
Yes.
Those actresses. I don't think they will, though. Do you really think they will?
I think if we spread the word, Beverly Johnson 1 is my Twitter handle, just in case you want to tweet that out.
Yeah.
You just have to lend a voice. You have to shine a spotlight on where you see there's an injustice, and somehow the universe will correct it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Call him out on Twitter, girl. Call him out.
Beverly
we'll support you on that.
At Beverly Johnson 1.
I would love that.
So would you say that young African American women are not pursuing modeling? Are they discouraged right now? Or are there any young women coming up in the industry that you know of? Or is it just really, we're at a time now where they're just not really getting into the industry as before?
Well, I heard that from a reporter, that was the reason why they didn't have any models of color on the runway, because the African American girls, they didn't say they were ugly, but they were trying to say something that I didn't like. But I would say that's totally false. So many young ladies, from my experience, have come up to me and said, I want to go into the industry, I want to be a model, and they're gorgeous. So I don't feel there's a lack of women of color that is in an industry. I really don't feel that at all. But one thing I do tell them is the same thing I told my daughter. Get your education, get your BA or your MBA or whatever you want, because you're still going to be beautiful after you're 21 years old, I guarantee you. And that way, you'll have something that no one can take away from you. Mm-hmm. No one. Mm-hmm.
Something pretty significant happened the year after you were on the cover of Vogue, involving designer Stephen Burrows. The runway at Versailles, he used all African-American models. This was in 1975. And then, I know, it was pretty extraordinary. Speak on that, Beverly, because you were really popping at that time, and what must that have been like? It reminds me of Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the Olympics, that kind of statement, that kind of risk that he took to make a change.
Yeah, they were powerful. I mean, Stephen Burrell still is powerful and a great designer, and he took risk, and you know, he had Willie Smith and Patrick Kelly and Fabrice and all these amazing designers. But you know, it's a business, and business for you entrepreneurs out there, and you know, and for myself, it's hard. You know, it's not easy at all, and that's one reason why I really love Macy's. They have this program where they take entrepreneurs and diversity of multicultural women or men. And they train them in the way of, not only because they're great designers, but the business behind design. Because you have to know the business, you have to have those kind of components. Right, right. And that's what I really love about Macy's, that they have that kind of program. But it's a tough business, and you don't see a lot of designers today. And you have Tracy Reese, Michael B. Sean Puffy Combs, I love his things. I think he's so chic. So you have more, instead of a lot of designers, you have more, I call them kind of stylist designers, because if I were to come out with a line of clothing, you can rest assured I did not design that, okay? Because I don't know nothing about patterns and sewing, and you wouldn't wear what I made for you, okay? I guarantee you that. But I have a good eye for, you know, like I want to take that and this beautiful necklace that was given to me today. I know when something's good, you know, and I can promote that. But I'm getting a little off topic. You want to add?
I think Rick Owen did this year, he did black steppers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that was really interesting. He's not black, but he did do all black girls. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Rick Owen is a white designer, but he used a black sorority to wear his clothes down the runway, which was very interesting. It was sort of the, you know, sort of the same thing. He just didn't use models. Right. And it created this sort of really amazing buzz for Fashion Week. I think it was in Paris, right?
Yes, it was.
He did it overseas, but it was still the same sort of, basically a reverse of what happened in New York. Saying you didn't use black women at all in New York, I'm going to use all black women in my show in Paris. And I thought that was a really amazing sort of response to what happened in New York. So there are some people who are conscious of the fact that black women were being ignored. So that's the good part, that some people are aware that there is this oversight and that it can't go on. So some designers are taking a stand.
Well, wouldn't we hope that it would be improved now with kind of the old guard moving out and younger designers and younger people in the fashion industry who don't have any biases or things like that, since it's a different world right now? Do you think, is there any hope?
Well, I mean, I remember, I'm just sitting here thinking about one time, Naomi Sims was my predecessor. Okay, that's whose shoulders I stood on to get where I am. And I remember being at Halston's, and I don't know if you know about Halston. It was this big designer at the time, and she was late, of course, and everybody's waiting on Naomi. I mean, she was the most, if there's such a thing about being too beautiful, she was just this beautiful, exotic creature. And at any rate, during the fashion show, I kind of like peeked out and watched her float down the runway. I mean, it's like she had on ice skates. I mean, and of course, you know, I had to you know, depend on my CoverGirl thing, you know, it's me, Beverly Johnson, because I can't walk like that. I mean, it's a talent. Naomi Campbell, you see her walking, or Iman, I mean, it's a true talent. Now, maybe it's because they've gone into this very austere way of walking down the runway like you're a robot that we just don't fit into, because, you know, we're going to give it a little something.
Oh, yeah, the hair toss.
Something.
Switching of the hips.
Right. They're going to say, don't put your hands on your hips. They won't put their hands on their hips. They're going to put it somewhere. They're going to do something to, you know, individualize it. But that's why they sold so many clothes, and that's why they were so popular, and that's why we were so, and still, so important to the industry, because when we put on a dress and wore it, it sold. And that's the whole purpose. So, anyways.
Well, there are some models that stand on your shoulders as well, my dear.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. You may give her a round of applause. And speaking of Naomi Sims, was that kind of, was that your style icon? Or what actually, how did you decide you wanted to pursue modeling when there weren't a lot of black women doing it at the time?
Well, first of all, I like to say that Allison Samuels is an amazing writer. And she wrote the book for Michelle Obama, What Would Michelle Obama Do? And she is writing my memoirs with Simon & Schuster's. So she can tell you the stories better than I can. You know what I love about Allison is that, you know, we met each other, and, you know, because you're telling someone your stories, you know. But she makes me sound so sophisticated, and you know, I would say, and she came down there butt naked, she would go, sans clothes. You know, I was like, oh, I like her, you know. I like how she's making me sound. But to get back to your question, which was,
who influenced you? What was your, how did you get into modeling? How did that become an interest of yours?
It really wasn't. I was an athlete, and you're going to all get the book and read it, and I'll save a little for the...
Yes, you must.
Buy the book. No, so I was an athlete. I was a swimmer, and so I was very disciplined, and, you know, and I loved school. I was that nerd, you know, I was that girl, okay? I got the pictures to prove it. I was that girl. So I wasn't interested in fashion. I never looked at a fashion magazine in my life, and I was making $28 a week, working at the Roxbury YWCA. I was going to college at Northeastern University in Boston. And all of a sudden, I lost my summer job. And then I didn't have the summer job in Buffalo as a lifeguard. I'm like, what am I going to do? And these girls from New York City that were at my school said, you should be a model, girl. They make $75 an hour. I was like, what? What? I said, what is modeling? And she actually grabbed the magazine, and she said, this. And the girl was standing there with her hands on her hip. I said, I can do that. I mean, it was really, you know, turn of fate. One day you're a college student, the next day you're a model.
Wow.
It happens just like that.
Kind of the American dream. Very nicely done. Well, as we continue our Black History Month celebration, we have to talk about the motherland. We have to talk about Africa and our roots. And Allison, can you speak to how that has played into the evolution of black style here in America for us?
I think when you look at sort of the style and the textures of sort of the cloth and the sort of color that sort of, we love color. You know, we love sort of brightness, and I think that definitely comes from the motherland. I spent 3 months in Ghana teaching school, and that color there, that vibrancy, we love it. It just sort of awakens our soul, and I think we need that. We have to have that because we've been through so much as a people that we have to have that brightness, or else how do we make it?
Right.
And I think that's sort of still with us today. And I think, you know, without that, I don't know if we would have made it as a people. So I think that stays with us, and that reminds us of sort of where we came from.
Right.
And it's still here with us today.
How do you feel about the term Afrocentric? That was being thrown out a
Right.
lot. How do you feel about that word? Is that...
I don't hear it as much today, but
Right.
I think it is important. And I think a lot of people didn't like it.
Right.
But I think it's there. That's the core. That's where we're from. And I never really understood why people tried to sort of, so I never understood the problem with it, because I think that is the core.
Yeah.
And when we get away from that, we lose a lot. So I hope it comes back in some ways. I know a lot of people never lost it.
Right.
But when people sort of try to get away from where your origin's from, I think you lose. And you can't get away from home. You have to stay close to it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people understand that. And the younger generations, I hope that they sort of remember that.
Yeah.
And sort of return to that.
Right. Yeah. How did that movement, the Afrocentric movement, how did that even begin? Because there was that period, I guess, kind of in the 80s,
yeah,
where we were all, in fact, my husband is wearing his kente cloth bow tie tonight with his black power fist clenched.
Right.
But remember when we were wearing all the
Right.
kente, the beautiful kente cloths, and
Right.
remember Queen Latifah and those regal, hats and the headwear? That is Africa.
Where did it come from, or where did it go?
How did that whole,
I was like, where did it go? That's what I wanna
exactly.
know.
Where did it go? But that was a big movement for a while.
I sort of feel like that's a very good question. I
Yeah.
don't know where did it come from?
It's, Michael Jackson. Remember the times.
yeah.
You had Eddie Murphy up
Right,
there, sitting
right,
up there,
that's
and then
true.
Iman, and they were the queen. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that video.
And Malcolm X and the movie Malcolm X and all that movement, all of that was around the same time.
And I was the Liberian girl in Michael Jackson video.
Yes. Oh, we remember.
That's true.
Oh, those were the days.
Those were the days. Those were the days. You're right. That's true. And they just sort of, I don't know. I don't know what happened to those days
I know,
either.
I
don't
know.
But you know what? It was really interesting. There was a woman. When I was in New York and receiving an award, and there was a woman from Kenya there, and she had been in America for a while. But what she does is that she takes different designs and she goes to Kenya, to these little villages of these women, and that know how to knit and crochet. And they knit and crochet these really specialty items, but it's a little different. They have that little twist, that little individual, and she's really has quite a great business now, and in a lot of retail stores, and also providing these women in the villages in Kenya a living, a way to earn a living. But it's just so interesting that, they might Skype and say, can you knit this? Because a lot of them can't read or write. And they do it, but they do it their way.
Right.
And people, and particularly a lot of the celebrities, with all the celebrity babies, buy these garments because they are just that special.
Right.
So I think it's a mix, and it's entwined between the two cultures,
Got to bring it back strong.
That's true.
It'll be back. But like you said, for many of us, it never really left.
That's true.
No.
It's very true.
Well, since you did the Michelle Obama book, we have to talk about the
Yes,
First Lady, who
that's
has
right.
become an international
Style.
fashion icon. I mean, isn't she the right black woman at the right time to hold this position?
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah.
Now, she probably had no idea that she was going to be looked at for her fashions as well as all the other wonderful things she does. But talk about how she has evolved into this amazing fashionista.
What I love about Michelle Obama is that she was not this fashionista when he first got in office, or when he first started running for the Senate. She was not. Everyone will tell you that she was this very sort of plain business suit, gray suit, black suit wearing woman.
Homegirl.
Very, sort of strict black, gray, no personality at all when it came to her clothes. But somebody pulled her aside and said, hey, look, this has to change. You're going to have to flip the script here because this is not working. And that's how smart she is. She was like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I change this? And just like that, she figured it out. And now, this woman knows how her body is made, knows what makes it look good, and she loves it now. Yeah. But it's within reason. She doesn't go overboard.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's not looking like, she's not Nancy Reagan buying, $10,000 dresses and all that.
Yes.
She knows how to do it where it's reasonable.
Yes.
You and I can look great in what she wears. You know what I mean? And she'll go get her something from Target and look great, and then she'll go buy this, $2,000 dress and look great as well. I mean, she understands what looks good on her body with her kitten heels or whatever.
Yeah.
And she is the perfect style woman, and you have to love her for it. She
really
is the
do.
woman.
Because that's very hard to do,
It is.
I mean, she really, what she's wearing, she feels comfortable in it, and you like it. And it's very, not everybody has style. I mean, you really can't even buy it. You know, you even try to tell people, yo, girl, you shouldn't wear that. And they wear it anyways. You know, you really, you know, you either got it or you don't. And she had it. I mean, it was deep down in there, but she had it. And I really, I just admire her and love her, and she's such a great representative of us.
That's true.
And just the impact that she's had, you know, across the board,
Yes.
you know, around the world, in the way she looks, because she realizes that the way you look sometimes is how people are going to treat you.
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's
And she understood
those first impressions.
She understood her role in history
right.
at this time, and
Right.
that she was going to be scrutinized
Very
and
much
looked at like no other first lady.
Yes.
And what I love about her style is it has been a gradual
is.
evolution.
It
She
really has.
didn't bust out and do anything shocking. And we've been on this journey with her.
That's very much so.
You know, and you look at her and you're like, I can wear that.
That's
I can do that.
Right.
Perfect black woman at this time to be in this position. Yeah. Yeah. You may applaud the First Lady once again. So I think she's one of our style icons.
Right.
Allison, how about some of your style icons other than the First Lady? Over the years, past and present. Yeah,
Past
sure.
and present. I guess, you know, just like everyone else, because we've talked about this, you know, I think everybody loves Audrey Hepburn, right? I guess, you know, Halle Berry, definitely. I love the way she dresses. I love Rihanna. I do love Rihanna. I think she's always...
she's fearless.
Yeah, she's fearless. I think she looks great in whatever she wears.
Rihanna fans in the audience?
And Beyonce, although, you know, we're not going to go out there and look like that, but it really inspires you. You be like, dang, I got to get in the gym, you know. I mean, she looked fabulous on.
But I like Rihanna because she can take hair off, put it on, take it off, put it on, and she looks great. Everybody can't do that. You know what I mean? So that's why I love Rihanna. I just think she looks great no matter what she wears. And going back, I guess I like Dorothy Dandridge, all those women.
And
you know?
Lena Horne. I remember seeing Lena Horne do her one-woman show. And you know, in my life, I've had an opportunity to meet some really amazing people, and you'll read it in the book. But she was just, she had these caftans, and she was just so dynamic in her jewelry. And I just remember just, you know, being there, and I watched the show a number of times because she was just fabulous and funny and special. And I really I loved the way Lena Horne looked.
But nobody is, Miss Ross is the be-all to end-all.
Oh, yeah.
End-all to end-all. Yes. Miss Ross is, yeah.
We all lost our minds after Mahogany, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We lost our minds.
It came on the other night, and no matter when Mahogany comes on, I have to stop, no matter what I'm doing, and just watch it, because I have to, yes.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Rihanna, because actually our friends here at Macy's wanted me to to challenge the audience and see where you stand on Rihanna's fashion or Beyonce's fashion. Where are my Beyonce fans in the house? Who thinks Beyonce is making an impact? And the Rihanna? Whoa! Whoa, Queen Bee better watch out! Wow! That's pretty interesting. And Beyonce, of course, has her line of clothing as well. A lot of pop culture, music artists really have a lot to do with fashion. Let's talk about Beyonce, because she's been quite the trendsetter in a number of ways.
Right.
Talk about her contribution to black style.
Beyonce, I've interviewed Beyonce more than I've interviewed Rihanna. It's been interesting watching Beyonce evolve, because I remember her with the braids and the sort of cutouts and all that stuff. I've watched her when her mother was making her costumes and her outfits. So watching her evolve from that to now, you know, the dress she had on the Grammys, the white, I thought was amazing. She looked so fabulous and elegant, and just, you know, watching her do that has just been amazing. So I love her. I love the way that she constantly changes. I mean, every time. She takes more selfies than anybody I've ever known in my life. I don't understand how she has time to do all that. But her style is great. And I love that she is growing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's learning herself. And that is something that we all do.
Yeah.
And I think she's coming into herself. Rihanna, I'm amazed at how young she is. And I think she's figured it out much sooner. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it's the stylist or whatever, but she seems to have found herself at an earlier age. And it may just be that she found the right people at an earlier time. I'm not sure how that happened.
Right place, right time.
Right time, right, yeah. I feel like she sort of got there sooner, and it may be because she wasn't in a group. And Beyonce was in a group, and she was confined to sort of being a part of those three girls. I'm not really sure about it. But for me, I like Rihanna a little bit better. I just sort of feel like she sort of has that individual rebellious streak that I think is sort of funky and fun. But I'm just happy, you know, two black girls rule the world. I don't really care. So.
And Beverly, what do you think about Miss Beyonce and her fashion style?
I love all the girls. And I love Rihanna. I love the element of surprise with Rihanna. Yeah. You don't know what she's going to look like when you see her. You don't know what color her hair is going to have. You don't know if she's going to have hair.
That's right.
You know, I mean, and it's the element of surprise is what I love. And I love to reinvent myself, too. Sometimes I make a lot of mistakes. But I love sometimes I just get tired of looking at myself. You know, and I just want to take a chance. And I know that I got grandchildren. I shouldn't be taking those kind of chances. But my boyfriend likes it.
Hey! Let me just say, if I looked like you, Beverly Johnson, I would look at myself all day long in the mirror. I would look at myself all day long and all night long. Listen, we're going to wrap in just a few minutes, but something that is interesting now in this age of technology, of course, we got to talk about how the internet affects fashion trends and black style, and the fact that internet fashion bloggers are really, really on the rise, including Beyonce's sister, Solange, is a fashion blogger. How is that going to maybe change the game?
It's been interesting because I love Solange, I do, and that's how I sort of see her all the time, because otherwise I don't know if I pay attention to her that much, but I love what she wears, and that's how I sort of, you know, I'm like, oh wow, what does she have on today, and what is she doing today? So no, I think that is going to be a big part of fashion going forward, and it helps, I think, minorities, the ones that we're not able to get on the runway, we're not able to do these things, so now we have another outlet where you can find us, and you can see what we're doing as designers or models or socialites or whatever. Now you can find us, so I think it's the perfect sort of way for people of color to be seen. So I think that's the big influence that it's going to have. Is this, it just gives us another way in.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you find. Just the other day, I had this lace front wig on, right, and the glue and everything. I had to go on the internet and YouTube, and how did I get this thing off of my head? You know what I mean? And they say, you take the alcohol and you put it. She could say it better. She's the writer. She can say it better, but you know what I mean? You can find everything on that internet. I mean, every style. I mean, it's just amazing, you know? You go on there and boss up, and I get all the sites from my daughter, and you know, boss up, gossip, all that stuff, and you just look and you try things, and it's really great because you know what somebody's doing all the way over on the other side of the world. They have a little accent. Well, this is what I did, you know. And I took it back, I flipped it back, and, you know, if you could get this. And they just tell you, you know. And that brings me back to BeverlyJohnson.com. You'll find all of that on BeverlyJohnson.com. Information. I love information.
Yeah, yeah. Do we have, are we going to have time for audience questions, or do we have a little bit of time? 5 minutes of questions? All right, but before we get to that, I just want to give a shout out to your lovely daughter, who is an accomplished supermodel in her own right. Y'all know that? Anansa, right?
Anansa, yes.
Were you okay with her stepping into the family business?
She has her BA and her MBA.
Oh, there you go.
And a husband, and the love of my life, my grandchildren. Oh. And another one on the way.
Really? How many will that be?
That would be 3. Oh. I'm so in love. I'm so, they're my heart.
What do they call you, Beverly? Do they call you Grandma?
Softa. Oh, no, dear. So my daughter goes, Softa? They're not going to be able to say Softa. I said, they will if they want me to answer. And they're up there, Softa, FaceTime. I love my grandkids. I love my grandchildren.
She just gave me that classic diva response, didn't she? Oh, no, dear. Not everybody can do that or say it like that. All right, let's head on out. Anybody have some questions for our panelists? Yes, ma'am, right there.
I'd like you to comment on last year's photo shoot called African Queen, where they elected to hire a white model and polish her and paint her rather than to have a black model for the African.
They knew they had made a big mistake. They knew they had went way back in time when they made the Indians white people and started making them with red paint on their face. They went way back, you know, and you know, that died down a lot. And I actually saw it was just really not nice. It's kind of, you know, black face but brown face in the fashion industry. It just doesn't belong.
It's shocking in this day and age. It was just shocking.
It was.
Yeah.
You just wonder who's in the room when they make those decisions. Like, who,
Right.
you know, who was in the room?
Who thought this was a good idea?
And was there one minority in the room to say, hey, you know, maybe not so good?
Right.
Yeah.
Who else has a question? Let me go back. Thanks, Russell, right back there. I'll get you, I promise.
I don't know if this, oh, okay, great. Hi, my name is Val. I'm born and raised in New York City, and I came out to California to go to Stanford. I actually pursued acting because I was having such a hard time getting work as a model. So when you guys were talking about models versus actresses, models versus actors, I personally feel very torn because I belong in both of those categories. And so I think because I saw so many actors gracing the covers, I felt as if that was going to be a much better way for me to get on the path that I wanted to be on. So I guess my question is, if you're a nerd, the same way you were talking as you are, if you're a nerd who wants to model and potentially act or do whatever else, and these industries don't really allow you to have a brain or to really have thoughts of your own without a lot of backlash, what is your advice to keep folks from feeling discouraged when they have everything that they're supposed to have and are still struggling to get where they need to be?
That's what's so wonderful about blogging and the internet. You know, how many people have launched their careers and not having, you know, be in judgment of a few, but of the world. And if you have talent, you know, they will find you. You know, they will find you. And if they don't, you just keep telling them, I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm over here. Persistence.
I'm thinking of leaving the country for that reason, because it seems like abroad we have a much better time. It seems like we have a much better time abroad. So I hate to think of it, but I think I may need to leave the country to get a foot in the door.
Well, I think that, you know, changing locations, you bring whatever you have with you wherever you go. So changing location doesn't really change much of anything.
It doesn't change
It really
anything
doesn't.
at all. And you're right, Beverly.
Hey, good luck to you, darling.
You're right.
Yes.
We understand the struggle. Trust us, because we all go through it in all of our walks of life, in our lines of work. So please feel supported tonight. Please feel supported tonight. Let's go to this side of the house. Anybody on this side got a question? Yes, ma'am, right here. Right up here, Russ.
I had a question pertaining to just African American females as an image in general. It seems to be these days a lot of it is generated through videos, through rap videos, and through, I guess, more entertainment than anything else. And that seems to be on a different path rather than being more sophisticated and more model-esque. Seems to me more stripper-ish and more on that level than. And I don't know if that, do you think that that affects African American women wanting to be models or wanting to be more sophisticated rather than get the attention from being more stripper-ish?
Yeah, I can't stand that. I don't want things to get Beverly Johnson 1 at Beverly Johnson 1. But yeah, you know, that's why I really love the Super Bowl halftime, Bruno Mars. He was just singing, and you know, the guy, I mean, it was just
Black style
about
Bruno Mars.
music. Yes.
Okay.
It was about music, and nobody was shaking around. But I mean, you know what? To each his own. And I think that, you know, people, and I know from being a parent, I parent by example. And they may stray, but they always come back. So I think everyone should do whatever makes them feel good. But, you know, my daughter better do the right thing.
Yeah. She ain't stripper-ish.
Ain't no clothes involved.
Bruno Mars is a perfect example of how black style has influenced him. From his, that's like a Temptations suit he had on from back in the day. James Brown splits, Michael Jackson. And he will tell you, a lot of artists, especially back in the day, they stole our style of music and everything. We made rock and roll and everything, but Bruno will tell you who his influences are. Don't get that twisted. So I respect him and appreciate that. Yes, sir.
L. Peter Callender, Artistic Director, African American Shakespeare Company. First of all, you just said you get tired of looking good at yourself. I'll do it for free. I think England's got the Queen and we've got you.
Thank you.
I wish I'd have said that.
Oh, that's my boyfriend.
On a lighter note, I think, we watch all these reality TV shows and runway, the runway. So why don't we see you? Why don't we see you on all these things? Why do we not? Tell us, please, that there's a Beverly Johnson reality show coming out.
There was. There was.
But tell me why it's not there, and tell me there's another one coming.
Well, it was really, really great. I had a constructive reality show, which was very successful on OWN. It was about mother and daughter relationships. And you loved it? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Y'all saw that on Oprah's network? Yeah.
Yes, Beverly's Full House. And yes, we are working on a number of other shows. And yes, we are working on a number of other kind of competition shows where women are actually women and not stripperish.
That's the word of the night, girl. Look what you did tonight.
See, you coined another phrase, stripperish. Another word.
You brought up something else that is different these days in the industry. The reality competition shows like Project Runway and Fashion Star. Do you see that as maybe helping the movement for black designers and everything?
Oh yes, that's a great.
It's another good opportunity.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm wearing Kite Brewster. It's a black designer who is a black stylist.
Fabulous.
And so you just do what you can do to support black designers and African Americans in the arts.
Okay, we have time for one more. I promised my girl over. She's got the mic. Excuse me.
Hi, Beverly. Hi, everybody. I know that you were a judge on She's Got the Look.
Yes.
First 2 seasons, and I was a semi-finalist on season 3.
Oh, I saw your face. I'm looking at you, and I'm thinking, wonderful.
And I was so upset when I found out that they replaced you with Rashumba. I'm not that Rashumba's bad or anything, but I was so looking forward to meeting you on the show. So I'm hoping I get to at least take a picture with you after. But I do have a question. The show was for women. It's a modeling competition for women over the age of 35. I'm 41. And thank you. I did the show a few years ago, though, so I was a little younger. But, I was a petite competitor compared to everyone else. And I'm just wondering, what do you see for petite models in the industry? I'm an active working lifestyle commercial print model, but I understand at my age and at my height, I will never be able to do, all the fashion and beauty and runway. Although I have done a little bit of beauty, but it's all just face. It's never, the whole thing. So I just want to know your thoughts on work for petite models in the fashion industry in particular.
Yes, I do feel that, the modeling industry is a niche market. You have, the plus size division is the biggest division in modeling agencies. They finally got it. They finally got it. And then they have, the petite division and the sophisticated division. We over the age of 35, it's doing well. It could do better. But I think that, it's great that we all are being represented, because we want to look at someone that is a reflection of ourselves. Oh, this is.
I know you said one last, but we have someone
Oh, well, hey, now, I'm losing control of the crowd.
She's been holding her hand up. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, wait, what's happening? Russell, who is speaking now? Did you want to say something, or were you speaking on her behalf? Okay, all right. Easy, fella.
I know I usually command a room when I walk in it, and I really don't even need much of a mic.
Child, you commanding it right now. Go ahead with your question.
And see, I can. Well, usually fashion is about when you're talking to a sister and you see another one, say, girl, look at her. She working it. And so I usually kind of work it in the jail. I teach in San Francisco 850 Bryant to women that are incarcerated. And it would be nice for them to see more of you, Beverly, just so that when I have a platform that I can tell these women that they still exist. They are some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and that I'm very comfortable with because they're not judging and I'm not judging them. I don't read the rap sheet and help you at the same time. So this is some of the things that we don't know, that we have a whole generation of women that are locked up more and more and that are suffering in their minds because we're being judging against Rihanna, against, there's room for all of us. And I think that that's a missing generation that we're not tapping into. So I just want to see more women of you that are you're so iconic, and you went through it when there were no team behind you, and you bust those doors open. And that's all, you know, that we kind of need that back. So I encourage you.
Well, thank you. I mean, what you're doing is very important, and I think that those women must really appreciate you so much, particularly when they come out of the prisons in order to acclimate themselves back into society as to how they want to look and act and feel. And what you're doing is a great service, and I commend you on it.
Thank you for your question. Thank all of you for your questions. It's been a great conversation. We could go on all night. Please put your hands together. Give it up for Allison. When's that, can you tell us when the Beverly Johnson memoir might be coming out?
August, September.
This August, September?
Yeah, this year.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll be looking forward to that. Is there a website that you have that you'd like to plug? Or?
It's Allison Samuels Twitter. At Twitter, yeah, and Facebook.
Allison Samuels, Twitter, Facebook. All right. And Miss Beverly's special website for this event tonight, beverlyjohnson.com/Macy's. And if you log on to that, you will get information on Ms. Johnson's products. And if you enter the code for tonight, which is Macy's SFO, you get 20% off for the next 2 weeks off of the products. Macy's SFO, again, that's beverlyjohnson.com/Macy's. All right, and also with any $50 or more Macy's purchase tonight during this event, you will receive an exclusive preview copy of the book that Constance White is presenting. It's called The Queens and Kings of Style, and it's a beautiful new publication with a history of black style. So a $50 or more purchase here tonight will get you an exclusive preview copy of that. Also, please remember to visit Macy.com/celebrate now until February 28th and enter for a chance to win a trip for two to New York City and a $1,000 Macy's shopping spree to update your wardrobe, courtesy of our friends at Delta Vacations. So that's now until February 28th. You can enter for that. So thank you all for being here tonight and supporting this event. Thank you, Macy's, for doing this on an annual basis, shining the light on our culture during Black History Month. And once again, Allison Samuels and the divine Miss Beverly Johnson, everybody.
And our own diva, the Dr. Renel Brooks-Moon.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy your night and shop Macy's, y'all.